Namaste.
Writings on the wall inside my head, inside of me.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing with you 11 pros and cons of having dreadlock extensions. So before we dive into this, I just want to state that I did have dreadlock extensions for about 2 months throughout my 2-year dread journey. I did remove them. And then also, I do work with dreadlock extensions for my dread clients. So this is all based upon my personal experience and preferences and opinions. Everyone is entitled to their own, so I hope none of this is offensive to anybody. I am only trying to help and providing some tips along the way for all of you. So let's dive into it. When I said 11 pros and cons, I have a total of 11. There are 4 pros and 7 cons in this video, so let's start on a positive note with the pros. My first pro is length. The good news about dreadlock extensions is you can determine the length that you would like for your dreads, and it can be instant length. As most people know, dreadheads have shrinkage whenever their hair starts to lock up and mature, which is great news. However, if you had longer hair and you miss your longer hair, you will lose that length. With dreadlock extensions, you can add back in the length. My second pro is a color fade. So some people are actually really trying to achieve this goal when it comes to the different tone of their hair. So some people like to dye the tips. I had the tips of mine bleached. Some people like that two-tone, like ombre look, to where it kind of like goes dark and fades into light, or vice versa. So you can definitely achieve this with dreadlock extensions with minimal dyeing and having to do all that hard work. So that can be a pro. My third pro is more hairstyles. The longer your dreadlocks are, you tend to be able to do more with them. More elaborate braids and twists and buns and things to that nature, so you can really get more creative and have more options to choose from when it comes to styling. Now, short dreadheads can definitely rock out some cool hairstyles, but they are kind of limited because their dreads are shorter. The longer is the better when it comes to more hairstyles. And my fourth and last pro is they are removable. So you don't always have to rock them out for a long period of time. You can pick the time frame that you want to have them in. You can do it just to gain your length back, and then everything starts locking up. Say you want to remove them, you can do that. So that can be a pro as well. So now for the cons. My first con would be energy. Now this again is a complete personal preference, especially based off of your spirituality or your religious beliefs. I'm a very spiritual person, so the energy factor felt very different for me. The fact that I had somebody else's hair intertwined in mine held on some kind of energy, and I could feel that vibration slightly. So that is definitely on a spiritual note and a spiritual level, but your energy and like your balance will feel slightly off, and it's because it is not all you that is on your head, if you know what I'm saying. So that can be a con. My second con would be cost efficiency. The cost can be quite pricey unless you have a friend that knows what they're doing, or you have a good connection, or an awesome dread client like myself. The cost can be quite high. I do tend to pay per dread that I make, and then I have an installation fee just like my hourly rate whenever I am doing maintenance for somebody or dyeing or creating the actual dreadlocks. So the cost can be a little bit higher, especially when you're working with 100% human hair, which I only do. As far as synthetic goes, that's a whole different ball game. I'm not very savvy on that one, so you'd have to do some research. But yes, cost can be one big factor on the cons list. My third con would be that natural feeling, and that kind of goes back into the energy appeal. The whole purpose behind a dread journey is that your hair typically does not shed when you're a dreadhead. Everything stays locked in. So throughout your life and your timeline journey, all of that energy stays with you, and all energies have a frequency that can be measured. So you literally are carrying on this this entity and these feelings and these energies throughout your whole journey. So when you have dreadlock extensions and they are not your hair, the energy and that natural feeling and shift can be off. So most people would really like to have their natural hair do its natural thing and that transformation process. Fourth con would be the mature time. The mature time meaning if you had your regular dreads and say you were about a year on your dread journey and then you notice that significant loss of length and you decided to add in the extensions, the mature rate of the two is going to be different. Obviously these are more locked up, then this will be down here, a little bit more fuzzy, a little bit more noticeable, especially for those who are trying not to make it noticeable that they have had extensions put in. Fifth con would be the removal process. So even though it is a pro that you can remove them, this kind of leads back into the previous one I just stated about the mature time. So say they have really matured quite well and you've been rocking those extensions for a very long time, it is going to be harder to decipher where the original dread ends and then the new one had began when it comes to removing. You can use scissors, you can cut them, but it would just not quite be the same. You want things to look extremely natural, especially if you're removing them. So the removing process can be a little bit tricky in trying to decipher what is your hair and what is the extended hair. My number 6 con would be the color match. So as I had stated in the pros, if you're going for a color fade look, you can easily achieve that. But if you are not, it is going to be quite difficult to find a color that can match up with your color or whatever color you are trying to achieve, even down to dyeing. If you dyed the hair and say you also dyed your hair and you were trying to get one whole even tone, it will not quite turn out to be the same because of the consistency of that hair and the consistency of yours. The chemistry is not quite the same, so the color will be askew and slightly off and may be noticeable. And my last con is a huge personal preference, and it is heavier. So you may have or experience some neck or back pain, headaches on top of your head if you have a certain situation or a job that you need to pull your hair back and it needs to look elegant and out of the way and not so crazy and wild as dreads tend to do sometimes. So the heavier, the longer, as well as having those extensions in for a long period of time, they're locking up, they're heavy as well. So that can be a downfall, but most people really like long dreads. It just has this beautiful flowy appeal. So that's just kind of the battle that you have to choose when you're deciding your length of your dreadlocks. So that is it, guys, all 11 pros and cons in one package deal. I hope that the content was helpful and you can apply it to your decision making without taking anything personal. Again, these are all personal preferences. These are coming from my own and my personal experience that I wanted to share with my viewers and my audience. Before I leave here, I would like to hear your pros and cons down in the description box. Please interact with one another. Let me know of your experiences, what has worked for you, what has not worked for you, if you need any additional tips or information that I can provide for you. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, I hope it was extremely helpful, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye!